Hi, welcome to the Aftermath Tales. Ready for a new story? Very well, let's begin.
How much of your life are you willing to sacrifice for family? That's the question I ask myself every morning when I look at my bank statement and every evening when I come home to an empty house that I could have filled with someone special by now. I'm Regine Easton, 32 years old, and by most people's standards, I should have it all figured out. I'm a department manager at Meridian Food Distributors. Not glamorous, but it pays well enough to afford a comfortable life. I own my own home, a modest 2-bedroom I bought 5 years ago when I thought my life would look completely different by now. I'm smart with money, save religiously, and splurge occasionally on things that make me happy. Good wine, weekend getaways, books that pile up faster than I can read them. So, why am I still single? Why haven't I traveled to all those places pinned on the corkboard in my kitchen? Why does my savings account, despite my decent salary, never seem to grow the way it should? The answer lives 20 minutes across town in the house where I grew up. My parents, Duncan and Olivia, raised 2 daughters with vastly different destinies, though we didn't know it then. There's my sister Naomi, 26, brilliant and cursed with a heart too big for her own good. She's a registered nurse with skills that could take her anywhere. Beautiful inside and out, the kind of person who remembers everyone's birthday and sends handwritten thank you notes. When Dad had his stroke 4 months ago, Naomi made the heartbreaking decision to quit her job at Presbyterian Hospital to become his full-time caregiver. People always assumed she was the spoiled one, the golden child who got everything handed to her. They weren't entirely wrong about the golden child part, but they misunderstood who was doing the spoiling. Then there's me, the responsible one, the one who pays for things. For the past year, a significant portion of my paycheck has gone to supporting my family. Every month, I send Mom $3,000 to help with their mortgage and bills. Dad's medical expenses have been overwhelming since his stroke 4 months ago, or so Mom tells me. On top of that, I send Naomi $1,500 each month, money she deserves sacrificing her career to become Dad's full-time caregiver. She refused to accept it, but I insisted it is the least I can do for her. $4,500 a month. It's more than some people make in total, and it's bleeding me dry. The arrangement started over a year ago when Mom first called, voice tight with worry. The mortgage payment was going to be late, she said. Dad's medical bills were piling up, and she was too embarrassed to tell him they were struggling financially. Could I help, just temporarily, until they got back on their feet? And please, she begged, don't mention it to Dad or Naomi. Dad would feel terrible about being a burden, and Naomi had enough to worry about with her demanding job at the hospital. It made sense at the time. Dad had always been proud, the kind of man who would sacrifice his own needs before asking for help. And Mom was right about Naomi. She was already stressed about leaving her position at the hospital to care for Dad. Why add financial worries to her plate when she was already sacrificing so much? So I agreed to help quietly, temporarily, just until they could get back on their feet. But temporarily has stretched into 13 months now, and I'm drowning. The secret has become a weight I carry alone, watching Dad worry about bills that I'm actually paying, watching Naomi stress about their family's finances when I could easily tell her everything is covered. But I gave Mom my word, and family loyalty means keeping that promise even when it's slowly destroying my own financial stability. The thing that puzzles me most is Dad's reaction to all of this. Before his stroke, he was the kind of man who never wanted to be a burden to anyone, especially his daughters. He'd always been fiercely independent, insisting that all he ever wanted from Naomi and me was our time. Just a visit once a month, a family dinner, a chance to hear about our lives. I don't need your money, he'd always say when we'd offer to help with anything. I just need to know my girls are happy and successful. He would have been horrified to know that anyone in the family was struggling financially because of him, which made Mom's request for secrecy seem even more reasonable at the time. Dad really would have been devastated to learn that his medical expenses were creating a burden for me. But now, whenever Mom is around, he becomes a different person. His face contorts with rage, his whole body tenses, and he makes these urgent sounds like he's trying to tell us something important. The doctors said personality changes are common after strokes, but this feels different, more specific. Like his anger isn't random, it's directed entirely at Mom. Mom doesn't understand it either, or so she claims. She'll stand at the living room where Dad's hospital bed and medical equipment have taken over what used to be our family gathering space, and he'll start getting agitated the moment he sees her. His blood pressure spikes, his breathing becomes labored, and sometimes he tries to speak but only manages frustrated sounds that none of us can understand. "It's just the stroke," Mom always says, but there's something in her voice when she says it. Something that doesn't quite ring true. The stroke took away Dad's ability to speak clearly, weakened the left side of his body, and left him needing constant supervision. But his mind is still sharp. I can see it in his eyes. He understands everything perfectly, which makes his rage toward Mom even more confusing and heartbreaking. What could have happened between them? They'd been married for more than 30 years without so much as a serious argument that I knew of. Dad had always been gentle, patient, the kind of man who fixed broken things and never raised his voice. Even now, he's perfectly calm with Naomi and me. It's only when Mom enters the room that he transforms into someone I don't recognize. Meanwhile, Mom has been different. Despite the stress of Dad's condition and their financial struggles, she seems almost lighter lately. She's been going out more. Book club meetings, social activities with her new friends. Sometimes she's gone overnight for group activities or helping friends with various things. Dad encouraged her social life before his stroke, so I suppose it makes sense that she'd want to maintain those connections now, especially when being home must be so difficult. But the timing feels odd. Your husband has a devastating stroke, your family is struggling financially, and you're going to book clubs? Still, I try not to judge. Everyone handles stress differently, and maybe these social activities are her way of coping. Maybe they help her maintain her sanity so she can be strong for Dad when she's home. I just wish I understood why Dad gets so angry when he sees her. And I wish I knew why, despite sending them nearly $5,000 every month, I keep getting calls about bills that need to be paid urgently. Something isn't adding up, but I can't put my finger on what. I spend every weekend at my childhood home now, arriving Friday evening and leaving Monday morning for work. It's become my routine since Dad's stroke, a way to help Naomi with his care and to spend the time with him that he's always valued most. Before his medical crisis, Naomi and I would visit maybe once a month, busy with our own lives and careers. But now, seeing how much he lights up when we're both here, I've made it a priority to be present every weekend. This Friday evening finds me sitting on the living room couch that faces Dad's hospital bed, watching him work through his physical therapy exercises with Naomi. She's incredibly patient with him, counting repetitions and encouraging him through each movement. It strikes me, not for the first time, how much she's given up for this family. "Naomi," I say during a break in the exercises, "I need to talk to you about something." She looks up from adjusting Dad's pillows, and I can see the exhaustion she tries so hard to hide. 4 months of round-the-clock caregiving is taking its toll. "I'm thinking about selling my house," I said. The words hang in the air like a confession. Dad, who had been resting with his eyes closed, opens them and looks at me with concern. "What?" Naomi's voice is sharp with surprise. "Regine, why would you do that? Because I can't afford to keep it anymore." The admission feels like failure. Between my own mortgage and other expenses, I'm barely keeping my head above water. She looks confused. "Other expenses?" "Regine, you're already sending me money every month, and I told you I didn't want it at first. You don't need to." "It's not just the $1,500 I send you," I interrupt. "And you do need that money, Naomi. You sacrificed your career for this family. If I could send you more, I would in a heartbeat." She looks confused. "What do you mean, it's not just the $1,500? I take a deep breath, knowing I'm about to break a promise I made to Mom over a year ago. "Naomi, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to tell Mom I told you." "What are you talking about?" "I've been sending Mom $3,000 every month for over a year now, for the mortgage and bills." Naomi's mouth falls open. $3,000? Regine, what do you mean? Why? Mom called me over a year ago, said the mortgage payment was going to be late, that Dad's medical bills were piling up. She asked me to help temporarily, and she begged me not to tell you or Dad because it would stress Dad out and embarrass her. But Dad's Social Security and retirement benefits cover his medical costs, Naomi says slowly. Medicare handles most of it, and what's left over pays the mortgage. We don't need. She stops mid-sentence, processing what I've just told her. Wait, you've been sending $4,500 a month total? Yes, and I'm drowning, Naomi. That's why I'm thinking about selling my house. The color drains from Naomi's face. Regine, I never asked for that $1,500. You insisted I take it, and I didn't want to at first, but I had no idea you were sending anything to Mom. Where is that money going? Dad makes a sound, not his usual angry noise when Mom is around, but something urgent and desperate. He's trying to sit up straighter, his functioning hand reaching toward the bedside table. What is it, Dad? Naomi asks, moving to his side. He points toward his bedroom down the hall, then makes a gesture like he's writing. His mouth moves, trying to form words that won't come clearly. Do you want to write something? I ask, grabbing a notepad from the table. Naomi helps position the pen in his good hand. His writing is shaky, unsteady, but he manages to scratch out something that looks like DRWER or maybe DRWR. Drawer? Naomi guesses. Dad nods vigorously, pointing again toward his bedroom. You want us to look in a drawer? Another emphatic nod. Before we can ask more questions, we hear the front door open. Mom's voice carries through the house, cheerful and light. Hello, everyone. I brought dinner. Dad's reaction is immediate and violent. His whole body tenses, his face contorts with rage, and he starts making agitated sounds. The notepad falls to the floor as his hand clenches into a fist. Mom appears in the doorway, carrying bags from the grocery store, and her smile falters when she sees Dad's condition. Oh, Dunk, what's wrong now? She asks. But there's something in her tone, resignation, irritation, that doesn't sound like a concerned wife. I got some rotisserie chicken from the store, she continues, setting the bags down. You girls must be hungry. Come eat while it's still warm. But Dad is still agitated, still trying to communicate something to us. His eyes dart between us in the direction of his bedroom, and he keeps trying to form words that won't come. What's he trying to say? Mom asks, but she doesn't wait for an answer. She's already heading toward the kitchen. The chicken's getting cold. I look at the scrawled note on the floor. Drawer. And then at Dad's desperate expression. Something important is in that drawer. Something he needs us to see, but what? Later that same afternoon, Mom emerges from her bedroom wearing a dress I've never seen before. Navy blue with small flowers, fitted in a way that flatters her figure. She's applied makeup carefully, and her hair is styled differently than usual. She looks radiant. Happy in a way I haven't seen in years. I'm going out with the book club ladies, she announces, checking her appearance in the hallway mirror. Sandra is having a birthday party at the Marriott downtown. She's humming under her breath as she gathers her purse and keys, and there's a spring in her step that seems incongruous with our family's current situation. Another overnight thing? Naomi asks, and there's something in her voice I can't quite identify. Well, you know how these hotel parties go. It'll be late, and I don't want to drive home in the dark. I'll be back Sunday afternoon. Mom pauses in the doorway, looking back at us. Don't wait up for me. Why are you always out? Naomi asks suddenly, and the question hangs in the air like an accusation. Mom's smile doesn't waver, but something flickers behind her eyes. This is the only time I can enjoy my retirement life, sweetheart. I spent 30 years raising you girls and taking care of this house. Now it's my time to have some fun. There's something about the way she says it, defensive, almost defiant, that rubs me wrong. Your husband had a stroke 4 months ago. I want to say, your daughter gave up her career to take care of him. Your other daughter is bankrupting herself to pay your bills. When exactly is everyone else supposed to get their time to have fun? But I don't say any of that. Instead, I watch as she practically floats out the door, leaving behind the scent of perfume and something that feels like relief. The house is quiet after she leaves. Dad, who had been agitated during her brief appearance, seems to relax now that she's gone. He looks at us expectantly, then toward his bedroom. "The drawer," Naomi says, remembering. "Dad, what did you want to show us?" We help him to his feet and support him as he walks slowly down the hall to what used to be the master bedroom. Since his stroke, he's been sleeping in the hospital bed in the living room, but all his personal belongings are still here. He points to his dresser, a solid oak piece that's been in this room for as long as I can remember. Naomi opens the top drawer, then looks back at him questioningly. "Which drawer, Dad?" I asked. He gestures toward the bottom drawer, the deepest one. Naomi kneels and pulls it open, revealing stacks of photo albums and memory boxes, the accumulated visual history of our family. "Dad, these are just photo albums," I say, confused, but he's shaking his head emphatically, pointing more specifically at the albums. His agitation is returning. Not angry this time, but desperate, like he's running out of time to tell us something crucial. Naomi starts lifting out the photo albums one by one, and as she moves the bottom layer, we see it. A manila folder tucked underneath everything else, hidden where Mom would never think to look. "Is this what you wanted us to find?" I ask. Dad nods, and for the first time in months, I see something like relief in his eyes. Naomi hands me the folder, and with trembling fingers, I open it. The first thing I see is Dad's handwriting, pages and pages of notes in his careful, methodical script. A journal of sorts, with dates going back over a year. My eyes scan the first page. March 15th, Olivia came home at 2 a.m. Said book club ran late, but I called the library. No book club meeting scheduled. March 22nd, found receipt in her purse, $300 cash withdrawal. Asked her about it, she said groceries have gotten expensive. April 3rd, she's been getting dressed up more often. New clothes I don't remember buying. April 10th, mortgage payment bounced. Olivia says there was a mix-up at the bank. Page after page of careful documentation. Dad's growing suspicions, his attempts to understand what was happening to his wife and his marriage. And then, tucked behind the journal pages, photographs. Pictures of Mom with a man I don't recognize. Younger than Dad, maybe in his 50s, with salt and pepper hair and an easy smile. They're sitting close together in what looks like a restaurant. In another photo, they're walking hand in hand through a parking lot. But it's the bank statements that make my blood run cold. Page after page of them with yellow highlighter marking charge after charge. Chinook Winds Casino, Spirit Mountain Casino, Grand Ronde Resort and Casino, cash advances, ATM withdrawals, hotel bills. Thousands and thousands of dollars. At the bottom of the folder, I find Dad's final entries. January 15, hired private investigator, need concrete proof. February 8th, got the photos, got the bank records. She's been gambling away our mortgage money and having an affair with Paul Eggert. February 20th, started preparing divorce paperwork. She cannot stay in this house. February 28th, calculated total debt, will demand full repayment. March 1st, plan, tell girls this weekend about everything, file divorce papers Monday. Olivia moves out immediately. March 3rd, having severe headaches and chest pains. The stress is overwhelming. Can't sleep. Can't eat. How do I tell Regine and Naomi their mother destroyed our family? March 4th, divorce papers complete. Financial demands ready. Tomorrow I tell the girls. Monday I serve Olivia. March 5, the journal ends there. March 5th was 3 days before Dad's heart attack. Naomi and I sit in stunned silence, the evidence of our mother's betrayal spread between us. Dad watches our faces, and I can see that he's been carrying this burden alone for 4 months, unable to speak, unable to warn us, unable to stop Mom from continuing to destroy our family. "Oh, Dad," Naomi whispers, tears streaming down her face. You knew all along, and suddenly, everything makes sense. Not just Dad's rage whenever Mom enters the room, but all those times over the past 4 months when he'd been trying to tell us something. The frustrated mumbling that we dismissed as stroke-related confusion. The way he'd get agitated and point toward his bedroom, making sounds we couldn't understand. The desperate look in his eyes when he'd try to form words that wouldn't come. "Dad," I say, my voice breaking, "how long have you been trying to tell us about this folder?" He nods emphatically, tears streaming down his face, and holds up his functioning hand, making gestures. 4 fingers, then pointing to the folder. 4 months? Naomi asks. You've been trying to tell us for 4 months? Dad nods again, and the pain in his eyes is unbearable. All those times we thought he was just confused or frustrated by his condition, he was actually trying to warn us. All those meaningless sounds he'd make were attempts to say drawer or folder or Paul. All that agitation we attributed to stroke-related personality changes was actually a man desperately trying to protect his daughters from continuing to be victimized by their mother's lies. I've been supporting my mother's affair and her gambling addiction for over a year, and I never knew it. The worst part is seeing Dad's face now. The relief of finally being understood, mixed with the heartbreak of a man whose wife had not only betrayed him, but had nearly killed him with the stress of that betrayal. "What do we do now?" Naomi asks, but I'm not sure either of us is ready for that answer. The silence in Dad's bedroom is deafening after we finish reading the last page of his journal. Naomi and I sit on the floor surrounded by the evidence of our mother's betrayal, bank statements, photographs, receipts, and page after page of Dad's careful documentation. I'm shaking with rage. Over a year of my life, over $50,000 of my money, funding my mother's affair and gambling addiction, while I nearly bankrupted myself trying to help what I thought was a family in crisis. "I can't believe this," Naomi whispers, her voice thick with anger and disbelief. "All this time I thought we were struggling. I quit my job thinking Dad needed me here, thinking we couldn't afford help. And she was." Her voice breaks. "She was spending your money on casinos and hotels with another man." Dad makes a sound, a low, anguished noise that draws our attention back to him. When we look up, tears are streaming down his face. His mouth is moving, trying desperately to form words. I'm sorry," he manages to get out, each word a struggle. "So sorry." Mumbled sounds, but we understood. "Dad, no," I say quickly, moving to kneel beside his chair. "You have nothing to be sorry for. You tried to protect us. You tried to tell us." But he's shaking his head, more tears falling. He points to the folder again, and Naomi reaches back into it, pulling out documents we hadn't seen yet. Divorce papers, completely filled out and signed by Dad, dated March 4th, the day before his heart attack, and attached to them a detailed financial demand letter typed on Dad's old computer and signed in his careful handwriting. I read it aloud. "Olivia Jean Easton owes the following amounts to be repaid immediately. Mortgage payments diverted for personal use, $47,000. Credit card debt incurred without spouse's knowledge, $23,000. Cash advances and loans, $18,000. Total amount, $88,000. He was going to divorce her, Naomi says in amazement. He had everything ready. I flip back through the journal pages and read the entries again, and now the timeline makes perfect sense. He was going to tell us, I say, looking at Dad through my own tears now. He was going to handle everything. And then... Dad nods, more tears falling. 4 months of carrying this burden alone, unable to speak, unable to act, watching Mom continue her deception while his daughters sacrificed everything to support her lies. I stand up abruptly, the rage burning so hot in my chest I can barely breathe. I'm going to that hotel. What? Naomi looks up at me in alarm. Mom said she was at a birthday party at the Marriott downtown. I'm going to find her and end this right now. Regine, that might be a bad idea. Naomi starts, then stops herself. Actually, no. It's a good idea. She needs to face what she's done. God, I wish I could go with you, but I can't leave Dad. I look down at our father, this proud, gentle man who tried to protect us even as his wife was destroying our family. Dad, I'm going to fix this. This will end today, I promise. He nods and managed to smile. I grab my purse and keys, the divorce papers and financial demands clutched in my hand. It's time for Olivia Easton to face the consequences of her choices. The Marriott downtown is buzzing with Saturday night activity, and it takes me several minutes to locate the small party room where I can hear laughter and music spilling into the hallway. Through the glass doors, I can see maybe 20 people scattered around cocktail tables, balloons and decorations suggesting someone's birthday celebration. And there she is. Mom is holding court near the bar, wearing that navy dress that makes her look 10 years younger. She's animated, gesturing with a wine glass in her hand, and her laugh, that loud, infectious laugh that used to make me smile as a child, carries across the room. She looks radiant, happy, like a woman without a care in the world. Standing next to her with his hand possessively on her lower back is a man I recognize from the photographs, Paul Eggert. Salt and pepper hair, easy smile, expensive-looking clothes. He's leaning in close to her, whispering something in her ear that makes her throw back her head and laugh again. My sick father is at home, unable to speak, while his wife parties with her lover using money stolen from his daughter. I push through the doors. The room is warm and filled with the chatter of people having a good time. I weave through the small crowd, my heart pounding with adrenaline and fury. A few people glance at me curiously. I'm underdressed for this party, and I probably look as angry as I feel. Mom doesn't see me coming. She's in the middle of telling some story, her wine glass raised dramatically, when I step directly behind her. "So, this is where my money goes?" I say loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Mom freezes mid-sentence, her wine glass suspended in the air. Paul looks confused, glancing between us. "To have fun with your cheating partner while my sick father is at home?" I continue, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet section of the room. "Is this what you do with $3,000 I send you every month? Huh, Mom?" She turns around slowly, and for a moment I see genuine fear in her eyes. But it's quickly replaced by something else. Defiance, maybe, or desperation. "Regine," she says, her voice tight with forced calm. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to return something that belongs to you," I say, pulling the divorce papers from my purse. "Dad wanted to give these to you himself, but unfortunately he had a heart attack before he could. Funny how that works out, isn't it, Mom?" The color drains from her face as she recognizes the legal documents. Paul is looking between us with growing alarm, clearly realizing that whatever this is, it's about to get very ugly. I look around the room at all the faces staring at us, faces that suddenly look guilty, ashamed, caught. "All of you knew my mom is married and was having an affair," I say, my voice cutting through the silence. "Every single person in this room knew she had a husband at home, and not one of you had the decency to tell her it was wrong. What nice friends you have, Mom." The shame on their faces tells me everything I need to know. They weren't just innocent bystanders, they were enablers, watching her destroy her marriage and saying nothing. "I think we should talk about this privately," Mom says, reaching for my arm. I step back, holding the papers up where everyone can see them. "No, I think your friends should know exactly who they're partying with. This is Olivia Easton, everyone, wife of Duncan Easton, who's currently recovering from a stroke at home. Mother of 2 daughters, one of whom gave up her career to care for her sick father, while the other one works herself to exhaustion sending money to support the family." My voice is getting louder, and more people are turning to stare. "Except the money never went to support the family, did it, Mom? It went to casinos and hotels and funding your affair with Paul here." Paul takes a step back, his face flushing red. "Olivia, what is she talking about?" "Dad knew about your gambling and your affair with Paul," I continue, turning back to Mom. "He has evidence of you cheating. That's why he gets so angry every time he sees you, because he knows exactly what you've been doing behind his back." I turn to look directly at Paul, who's been trying to edge away from the confrontation. "And don't think you're innocent in this, Paul. You knew she was married. You knew she had a sick husband at home. You knew where the money was coming from when she was spending it on you and your casino trips." Paul's face goes red and several people in the room gasp. "Dad has divorce papers ready," I continue, holding them up again. "He was going to serve them to you the day he had his heart attack. 4 months you've had to come clean. 4 months you could have stopped this charade, and instead you kept stealing money and lying to your daughters." The silence in the room is deafening now. Even the music seems to have stopped. "The party's over," I say, stepping back. "Time to go home and face what you've done. And Paul, you can take her with you. Both of you have done enough damage." I turn and walk toward the door, leaving Mom crying in the wreckage of her secret life, finally exposed for exactly what she is. I drove home in a fury, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. By the time I reach the house, my anger has crystallized into something cold and determined. I walk through the front door, still clutching the divorce papers. Dad and Naomi look up as I enter, both of them reading the hope and dread in my face. "I found her," I say simply. "She was there with Paul, just like we thought. I told her we know everything." Dad's eyes search my face, and I see something I haven't seen in months. Relief. Not happiness, but the deep relief of a man whose burden has finally been shared. She'll be home soon, I continue, and when she gets here, this ends. Well, we didn't have to wait long. About 20 minutes later, we heard Mom's car in the driveway. The front door opened and she stepped inside looking like a completely different person than the radiant woman I had seen at the hotel. Her makeup was streaked down her face, her dress was wrinkled, and her shoulders were shaking with sobs. She saw the three of us in the living room, Dad in his chair, Naomi and me on the couch, and froze. "Duncan," she whispered, looking at Dad with pleading eyes. "I can explain." "Explain?" I exploded, standing up. "You want to explain? How about you explain how you could steal from your own family for over a year?" "Regine, please. How long?" Naomi demanded, her voice shaking with fury. "How long has this affair been going on?" Mom's face crumpled. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what we think," I shouted. "We found Dad's evidence, Mom. All of it. The photos, the bank statements, the casino receipts. We know everything." "How could you do this to Dad?" Naomi asked, tears streaming down her face. "He had a heart attack because of what you did." "You don't understand," Mom said desperately. "You don't know how lonely I was. Your father, he stopped paying attention to me years ago. I felt invisible in my own marriage." "So you decided to have an affair and gamble away our mortgage money?" I said incredulously. "Paul made me feel special again. He made me feel alive." Mom tried to explain, but I cut her off. "With my money," I screamed. "You made me think Dad was dying and we were going broke, and the whole time you were spending my money on your boyfriend." Mom was sobbing now. "I was going to pay it back. I swear I was going to win it back and pay everything back." "Huh? Pay everything back?" Naomi said in disbelief. "You thought you were going to win back thousands of dollars gambling?" "It just got out of hand," Mom whispered. "I never meant for it to go this far." "You never meant for it to go this far?" I repeated. "Mom, I was about to sell my house. I've been working myself to death thinking I was helping my family, and you've been funding your affair with my money." "I deserve some happiness too," she said weakly. The words hit like a slap. Dad made a sound, a low, wounded noise that broke my heart. "You deserve happiness?" Naomi said, her voice deadly quiet. "What about Dad's happiness? What about the happiness you stole from him when you betrayed years of marriage?" "What about my happiness?" I added. "The year I lost thinking my family was falling apart? The relationships I couldn't pursue because I was broke supporting your lies?" Mom looked around the room desperately, but there was nowhere to hide from the truth anymore. "You made me lie to Dad and Naomi for over a year," I continued. "You made me keep secrets that were tearing this family apart. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" She had no answer. "You have two choices," Naomi said finally, her voice steady and cold. "You can sign these divorce papers right now so we can file them and make this easy. Or we can help Dad get a lawyer and make this as difficult and public as possible. Your choice." I held up the papers Dad had prepared months ago. "He was going to file for divorce the day he had his heart attack. These papers are ready to go. You can cooperate, or you can fight it and lose everything in court." Mom looked between us desperately, then turned to Dad. "Duncan, please. I made mistakes, but we can work through this. I love you." Dad shook his head slowly, and for the first time in months, his expression wasn't angry. It was calm, resolved, almost peaceful. "No," he managed to say. "No more." And I understood. He wasn't angry anymore because anger required caring. The rage that had consumed him for months was the death throes of love betrayed. Now there was nothing left. She had killed whatever love he had for her when she chose Paul and the casinos over her family. "Where will I go?" Mom asked, her voice breaking. "This is my home. Our home." "Go to Paul," I said without sympathy. "You've made your choice. He can take care of you now." She looked uncertain, vulnerable for the first time. "But Paul, he doesn't have much money. He earns enough, but he gambles it away. I'll have to get a job." "Welcome to the real world," Naomi said coldly. "The rest of us have been working to support your fantasy life. Time for you to support yourself." The reality hit her. She was about to go from being financially supported by her family to having to work for the first time in years, living with a man who was as financially irresponsible as she was. "Sign the papers," I said, placing them on the coffee table in front of her. "Sign them tonight, and you can stay until you find somewhere else to go. Refuse, and we call the police about the theft, and you leave right now." Mom looked around the room one more time, at the house she was about to lose, at the husband she had already lost, at the daughters whose love and respect she had thrown away for Paul Eggert and casino chips. With shaking hands, she picked up the pen and signed her name. Dad closed his eyes, and for the first time in 4 months, his face looked truly peaceful. 7 months later, I was sitting in what used to be Mom's sewing room, now converted into my home office, drinking coffee during my lunch break, and watching Dad work through his afternoon exercises with Naomi. When I told my supervisor at Meridian Food Distributors about my family situation, they surprised me by offering a work-from-home arrangement. The company had been looking to cut overhead costs, and I became their pilot program for remote department managers. I sold my house and moved back into my childhood home permanently. The sale happened faster than I expected. Being located near the business district made it attractive to young professionals who wanted short commutes. With the proceeds, I paid off Dad's remaining medical debts and set up a fund for his ongoing care. The rest went into real savings for the first time in over a year. Mom moved in with Paul 2 weeks after signing the divorce papers. She got a job at a grocery store, her first real job in decades. Paul's apartment is small and cramped, and they're broke most of the time because he can't stay away from the poker tables. She called once asking if she could come home. When I told her that would start with paying back thousands of dollars she stole, the line went quiet. She hasn't called since. Dad is doing remarkably well. Without the constant stress of Mom's presence, his blood pressure has stabilized and his speech is slowly improving. Most importantly, the anger that consumed him for months is gone. Naomi has been taking online refresher courses to get back into nursing. With me here to help monitor Dad during the day, she can focus on her studies while maintaining his care schedule. The house feels different now, lighter. We have family dinners every night, real dinners where we cook together and talk about our days. Dad tells us stories from his childhood that we've never heard before. Last week, he managed to say something that made both Naomi and me cry. "My girls, home, where belong." Because we are home. Back to being a family built on truth instead of lies, on love instead of manipulation. I'm dating someone now, a guy from work who understands why family comes first. He's been to our Sunday dinners and Dad likes him. He even brings Dad books about woodworking, which has sparked an interest in maybe building birdhouses when his dexterity improves. Sometimes I wonder if Mom thinks about what she gave up. A husband who loved her, daughters who respected her, a comfortable home, financial security. She traded it all for excitement and casino wins. Now she's stocking shelves in a cramped apartment that smells like cigarettes and broken dreams. But mostly, I don't think about her at all. Last Sunday, Dad managed a full sentence. House feels right again. And he's absolutely right. We learned that some families are worth sacrificing for, the ones built on love, honesty, and mutual support. Others just take until there's nothing left. The weight of family doesn't have to crush you. Sometimes the heaviest burden is the one you need to set down. In our case, setting down that burden saved us all.
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to follow for more content just like this. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.